Hey guys, just a preface before we start into this, apologies again for missing 2 days of videos. Thank you so much for understanding though and letting me get that work done. I'm relieved now that it is all done. I can focus on this and hopefully do a good job with it. As you can probably hear in my voice though, I'm still fighting this head cold thing. I don't feel sick, it just is kind of gross, and I think it's affecting how my voice sounds, so apologies if this doesn't sound all that great. I'm hoping it doesn't sound terrible, though. I guess I'll find out when I listen back to it. But anyway, yeah, apologies. Hopefully this is a short-lived head cold, and I can get back to normalcy. But anyway, let's continue, shall we? Into the dark street we ran. I discovered quickly that half a year indoors did little for my physique, and I was out of shape. After only a few blocks, I was gasping for breath. Yamazaki, who was running ahead of me, suddenly stopped and looked sharply behind us.
No matter what happens, follow the street. Don't look back.
Don't tell me someone's behind us.
You don't need to know that.
Seems like Yamazaki's hunch was right. What should I tell him? You should go. I'll stay behind. Yamazaki, please, you should go.
Don't be a fool. What could you possibly do by staying behind?
If I distract the enemies, then you could go in the meantime.
If we'll need a lure, then it's going to be me. Run for it!
Yamazaki wasn't looking to take no for an answer, so I nodded in good faith. I looked to what lay ahead for me. Run, girl. As I stepped into the next intersection, I saw a flash of metal from the corner of my eye. Eep.
Keep going. I'll catch up in a moment. Just keep running until you see a white uniform.
Right. I kept running. I pretended I didn't hear the sounds of swords ringing against one another behind me and ran. My knees felt weak and my legs shook, but I kept going. They'd have to collapse or tear themselves to pieces before I'd stop. Even so, I felt so slow. I wanted to cry out, to scream at my body to go faster. Faster! Ah! A bright light suddenly cut through the darkness, and I placed my hand over my eyes from the glare. My heart stopped. Was it Choshu soldiers? I froze.
What the hell are you doing?
I very nearly began to cry with relief. Hijikata was not dressed in the usual light blue jacket, but rather a bright white uniform to be seen in dimly lit places. Instead, I simply collapsed as Harada reached out to grab me. Thanks, Boo.
Hey, you alright? If you left the headquarters without permission, Hijikata's gonna kill you.
I grabbed hold of Harada's hand and pulled my body to its feet. I wanted to tell him I had permission to leave and explain it was alright for me to be there, but I was so winded that I could barely speak. Besides, I wasn't sent to Hijikata to make excuses. Bleh. Took as deep of a breath as my shuttered lungs could manage before speaking. They're meeting at Ikeda. Suddenly, Hijikata's expression changed.
Then they are at Ikeda.
I nodded rapidly.
Are you sure?
Hijikata gestured toward me.
Sanan lost his arm, not his brain. The kid didn't run away. The colonel sent us this message. I'm pretty impressed you found us. I didn't think you knew Kyoto that well, kid.
Yamazaki. I finally got some of my breath back, and I did my best to tell them what had happened.
What about the Aizu and the Commissioner's men? Are they on their way to Ikeda?
I just shook my head. Hijikata thought for a moment, then spoke.
Sayato, Harada, you take our men to Ikeda. I need to go deal with something.
Harada and Sayato nodded curtly, then turned to their business.
Kyoto will be dangerous for you alone. Stay with us, or go with Hijikata.
I still lacked the breath to respond properly, so I simply nodded. We both knew they couldn't leave me here, but whom should I accompany? We gotta go to the inn. As fast as we could manage, we ran through the silent streets of Kyoto toward the Ikeda Inn. We were nearly a block away when we heard the first cries of men engaged in battle. None of the Shinsengumi remained outside, but I heard a voice ring out from inside that sounded much like Hondo's.
I shall take the front. Guess I'll take the back, then.
They gave each other a curt nod, then turned to lead their men. I couldn't stand there by myself. I mean, we could, but... I decided to follow Harada. I ran after Harada toward the back of the inn. "I'm coming with you!" I yelled as loud as I could, hoping he could hear me above the sound of fighting from inside the inn.
You are, huh? I guess I can't just leave you behind now, can I?
He flashed me a quick grin. Even with everything that was going on, he still acted like he had everything under control.
I'll keep an eye on you, so make sure you stick close, alright?
Okay. Aw, what a sweetheart. Keeping an eye on his girl. We rounded the corner and found ourselves at the rear entrance to the Ikeda Inn. I saw a blue jacket drenched in blood. Ah! My hand flew to my mouth almost involuntarily. 3 of the Shinsengumi soldiers lay there. I saw no signs of any other Ronin nearby. Harada walked quickly to each man, checking for signs of life and any wounds they'd sustained.
Ando and Nita, huh? Stay strong, guys. You're gonna be okay.
They nodded weakly to Harada, their breath shallow and harsh. He turned to the men he'd brought with him and directed some of them to carry the 2 wounded soldiers away from the inn. The 3rd man, however... Even my untrained eye could see that his face was frozen in the grim waxy mask of death. Good grief. Your untrained eye? Have you not seen enough death with your father being a doctor? Slowly, Harada knelt down beside him.
You did good, Okasawa. You will be remembered as a great man.
His tone was kind, compassionate, and as he touched the man softly on the head, husky with emotion. Harada. I felt my heart tighten. You might not think it to look at him, but Harada cared for people. He was a real nice guy. He'd undoubtedly been in many battles, and this was far from the first death he'd seen. Death was likely as common as breathing to him, but... was he hurt this much by everyone?
They must have jumped down from the 2nd floor and attacked our men.
He looked up at the inn and his eyes narrowed. We could still hear the sounds of battle inside. Are they going to be okay? Harada's response was exactly what I would have expected from him.
Of course. They're a tough bunch of guys. Alright. If anybody tries to run away out the back door, we're gonna cut him, okay? That's our job.
Okay. Something about his words calmed me despite that intense look. After all, they were tough. They'd be fine. I stood up a little straighter next to Harada and waited. Oh, and now it's the next day. Huh! Usually we get a CG with the guys at the end, but not this time. How very interesting. Trying to remember if we did with Saito or not. I can't... maybe not with Saito. Finally, the sun rose from the black sky. The raid itself had lasted only 2 hours. But for me, at least, it had felt far longer. There had been 20 Imperial nationalists at the Ikeda Inn. The Shinsengumi had killed 7 Ronin and injured 4 more. I learned later that, with the help of the Aizu domain and the Kyoto Judiciary Commissioner, they arrested 23 people. The owner of the Ikeda Inn had also been arrested for trying to help the Choshu rebels escape. The Shinsengumi had won an incredible victory, fighting against superior numbers in enemy territory, but they paid dearly for it. Okita had taken a blow to the chest and lost consciousness. Heisuke had been cut on the forehead and the bleeding refused to stop. Nagakura had injured his left hand. One of the Shinsengumi soldiers lost his life at the inn's rear entrance, and 2 others were severely injured there as well. It didn't seem likely that they would survive. The Kyoto military and judiciary commissioners also fought the Choshu Ronin. With their successful resolution of the Battle of Ikeda Inn, the Shinsengumi had, at last, made a name for themselves. It looked as though the peace in Kyoto had been protected. Never could I have imagined what the ultimate result of their victory would be. Indeed. July. That was a very short-lived Ikeda Inn episode, bit with Harada. Very interesting. Didn't meet any of the demon trio either. End of July 1864. Weeks passed since the battle at the Ikeda Inn. In the meantime, the Shinsengumi grew stricter during their rounds to arrest the numerous outlaw ronin that escaped from the Ikeda Inn. Rumors surfaced of extremists who were plotting to exact revenge on the Shinsengumi. Additionally, there were also problems occurring with warriors spanning from other domains, making things tense around the headquarters. Things were finally settling down. As a result of my efforts during the battle, they grew more encouraging of my involvement. This is when Iba comes. We can skip this. As much as I love you, and you're a beautiful, beautiful boy, 'tis not your time yet. So we'll just skip through this for now. Doop-a-doop. I wonder what comes after this. I'm trying to remember. Does the new shogunate get into power? Maybe? Well, it's August now. Blitz through July. Where are we at? After the fight at the inn, I was able to leave the compound much more often. I suppose after what I'd done, Hijikata thought I earned a little more trust. I didn't feel like I did anything extraordinary, but I wasn't about to look a gift horse in the mouth. I was genuinely happy that the man Hijikata approved of me. On this particular day, I was out on patrol with Harada in the 10th Division. Okay, well, we'll do this then. Excuse me, Harada? The Shinsengumi is out patrolling day and night, right?
Yeah, that's right. What about it?
But what exactly is it that you do? Most of the men in the Shinsengumi were intimidating, death-dealing titans, but Harada was a rare exception, warm and friendly. He knows how to deal out them deaths, though, when it's called upon.
Well, I guess we do just about everything. Obviously, we arrest people who want to test out their swords or don't pay for their food.
People who don't pay for food?
And then there's those chumps who think they'll make a living leaning on the merchants.
It wasn't really the answer I'd expected. I guess the Shinsengumi's job is closer to a magistrate's than I thought. Thinking back, I remembered how excited they were during the raid. What they did at the inn was far more intense than their day-to-day work. A little further down the road, a couple of men in Shinsengumi blues were waving at us. Nagakura! I guess our separate rounds brought us to the same spot.
Hey there, Chizuru. You find out anything about your dad?
No, nothing today.
Aw, come on, cheer up. There's always tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. There is something contagious about his optimism.
Well, Shinpachi, you find anything exciting? No, nothing in particular, but all of the people on the street are acting busy, you know?
I hadn't noticed it before, but he was right. They were acting strange, almost nervous. Yeah. It looks like they're getting ready to move.
You think maybe they're worried about getting caught in the middle of a war?
What? War? There wasn't a war, was there?
Oh yeah, we didn't tell you yet, huh? Well, those Choshu bastards are showing up around Kyoto again, hence our extra rounds. Well, we did give them a bloody nose at Ikeda. I can't imagine they'll just stand around with some of their guys in the ground.
Were the Choshu going to try something again?
Beats me. Kinda hard to tell at the moment. It doesn't matter anyway. We just do our job. The Choshu attack Kyoto, we drive him back. Simple.
They accepted their situation and never complained. I had a good deal of respect for Harada and Nakakura.
If they don't back off soon, we're probably going to be getting new orders all the way from the top.
Oh, right, we have to go to battle. So you think the Aizu will give you all the orders?
Yeah, they might ask us to join as part of the official shogunate troops. Well, chances like this only come every so often. Who knows when the next one will be? Wanna join us?
What? I was perplexed by his sudden invitation. Does this mean I could march as a member of the Shinsengumi? It seemed rather inappropriate for me to ask to participate just for curiosity's sake. Still, I very much hope to be helpful in some way. Could I perhaps do something like what I'd done at the Ikeda Inn? However, there's also the chance that I become a hindrance as opposed to helping them out. I will come, though. Gotta go with my boo. My mind was made up. I nodded to Harada. I want to help. I would like to participate and help in some way.
Alright, thanks for letting me know. When the time comes, I'll be sure to back you up so you could join us.
Aw. What a good guy. Now we'll just stare into each other's eyes for a while. Several days later. Excuse me. Every time I hear this music, I get immediately suspicious, but I don't think there's anything too strange about it right now. I carefully lifted the serving platter with tea for the captains and made my way to the common room.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Chizuru. Man, it's like you're our servant or something.
I mean, well, I was a page as far as everyone knew. The thought to correct him crossed my mind, but instead I stayed silent as I passed the tea out.
Thank you, Yukimura. I feel bad asking you to do this.
Oh, it's nothing. After all, I am Hijikata's page. I spoke barely above a whisper, but Inoue smiled and nodded at me. Okita took a sip of his tea and a mild grimace flickered across his face. Is something wrong with the tea? The taste is fine, but it could be a little hotter. Maybe you're taking too long to pour it. But I guess I can expect this from you. I'm sorry, I'll make a new batch right now.
Don't worry about it. I like it lukewarm. I can drink it immediately, right, Hajime?
Sure. Right. I guess lukewarm tea isn't bad on a hot day like today.
It was silent for a second before the door slid open and Kondo arrived with a stern look upon his face.
The Shinsengumi has received an official request from the Aizu domain. All available soldiers must begin preparations to move out immediately. Yeah! It seems the Aizu have finally noticed all the hard work we've been doing, man.
He looked just as happy with the news as the rest of them. Apparently, getting orders directly from the Aizu domain was an occasion for some excitement. Hijikata, however, was the lone exception.
We don't have time for this shit. Stop patting each other on the back and get moving. We need to go now. The Choshu are already in Kyoto. We can't let them gain the upper hand on us.
As Hijikata rebuked the men, the warriors all scattered sequentially to their stations. When it was only the captains and myself remaining in the room, Hijikata vented.
What? So only when the Choshu attack Kyoto is everyone ready to go? This is bullshit.
Thinking back at what happened at Ikeda Inn, while the Shinsengumi were fighting hard, the Aizu domain was elsewhere and came strolling in way later at the scene. Remembering that incident, I feel like I can understand Hijikata, at least to some extent. Okita and Todo, you will remain at headquarters. I doubt you'll like it, but, well, neither do I. Your injuries keep you from active duty, as do mine. He rubbed his left arm absently and looked away. Hey, speak for yourself. It's not like my injuries didn't recover or something. But I guess I'm not at 100% either. So if you're telling me to sit this one out, I will.
You're making a big deal out of nothing. This is just a scratch. Kondo's being a wuss.
Okita acted as if he didn't hear Sanan at all, while Heisuke pouted.
You sure about that? All last night you were crying like a baby.
You son of a bitch! Why you gotta rat me out? Is there even a heart in there, you old bastard?
But you did scream like a baby though, right? Right, Chizuru?
Hey, don't ask her. It'd be nice if you could keep your mouth shut for once, you know.
He glanced sideways at me. But, Heisuke, it's true that your injury hasn't recovered. His bangs hid the scar rather well, but it still looked painful. Nagakura broke the awkward silence.
Oh yeah. Chizuru, you said you wanted to go with us if we got called in, right? You still up for that?
Even though I told Harada that I was into the idea of joining them, it still seemed a little risky.
Oh, yes. Well, I see no reason why not. After all, opportunities like this are seldom seen.
For some reason, Kondo was easy to convince. I wasn't expecting him to be so easily swayed.
What the hell? If she's tagging along, maybe it'd be a good idea for me to come too, right?
Aw, Heisuke.
You're still all out of shape though, right? You stay behind at the compound. Aw, that's awesome, Chizuru.
Are you sure it'll be alright? Hijikata and Sanan sighed at the sight of my reservations, which was understandable.
We can't promise you won't get hurt or worse. You should stay here.
Do you wish to place undue burden on the Shinsengumi? We are not here to entertain you.
Colonel Sanan, can I take that to mean, so long as she is not a burden, she is free to accompany us?
I blinked. Saito standing up for me? Sanan seemed nearly as surprised as I was.
You can't be saying you're actually in favor of bringing her along.
Saito simply shrugged.
She was an asset at Ikeda. I only intended to point out that, judged by her actions, she has hardly proven to be a burden.
Never in a million years would I have imagined that Saito might have a word of praise for me. My eyes grew wide with elation, and Kondo nodded in agreement.
Excellent! I will take full responsibility for your inclusion. That is, of course, if you still wish to participate.
Sanan still didn't seem convinced. I looked around the room until my eyes met Okita's. Do whatever you want to do, so long as you get that we're going to a battle, not a party. It looked like I wasn't about to get any help from Okita, who looked nonplussed either way. Perhaps I'd be able to help them out, like I had during the Battle of Ikeda Inn. I nodded. Yes, I would like to participate. Let's do it. After that, everything was a blur. As quickly as we could, we prepared for battle and marched to the Fushimi Magistrate's office. There were a number of the Kyoto Judiciary Commissioner's men gathered there as well, in preparation for battle with the Choshu. Walking proudly in front of the men, Kondo approached the government official near the gate.
We, the Shinsengumi, are reporting as requested by Lord Katamori Matsudaira, the Lieutenant General of the Aizu.
Katamori Matsudaira was the lord of the Aizu domain and also the Kyoto Military Commissioner, which made him a very important person. His name would have been immediately recognized. The man standing near the gate looked slightly taken aback by the mention of the Shinsengumi.
You were told to report here? But we received no such orders.
No, that didn't make any sense. What? Perhaps sensing my confusion, Saito leaned over and whispered under his breath.
If they haven't received notice of our orders, lines of communication are likely in disarray.
Do you mean the Choshu is overpowering the Shogunate's forces?
Not necessarily. However, I do suspect the enemy to be doing well.
This could be tricky. The Judiciary Commissioner and the Military Commissioner had similar organizations, but they operate very differently. The military commissioner's office was under the jurisdiction of the Aizu domain, while the Kuwana domain controlled the judiciary commissioner. Bleh. I didn't fully understand the relationship between each domain, but so far as I knew, the Aizu and Kuwana weren't quite fond of one another.
Nonetheless, our assistance has been formally requested. If you could only speak to your supervisor...
It wouldn't make a difference. Now get! We have no use for Mibu's wolves! How terrible. And after they'd asked for the Shinsengumi's help. I felt Harada's hand on my shoulder and turned to look up at him.
Forget about them. This isn't anything to make a fuss about. We get this sort of crap all the time.
But this is so galling. I wasn't truly a member of the Shinsengumi, but even so. After living with the Shinsengumi men and watching how they worked, I couldn't bear to see how they were treated, which is why this felt wrong to me. Everyone at the Shinsengumi has worked so hard to maintain peace in Kyoto. How could these people, who are supposed to be our allies, turn us away without a second thought?
I appreciate the gesture, but I'm gonna need you to toughen up for me if you can. If we throw a fit here, then we might hurt Aizu's reputation. You get it?
Oh. The Kawana would only need to complain that the Shinsengumi hadn't showed them proper respect to make trouble for the Aizu. All of the men, including Harada, understood what needed to be done, and they endured. Gotta toughen up.
There's nothing we can do here, Chief. We should leave the magistrate alone and meet with the Aizu domain's men on our own.
Saito's suggestion to Kondo was rudely interrupted by Takeda.
Us? Leave? What's the point of ignoring a military command on the battlefield? Chief, everyone knows that messengers get delayed during war. Leaving now would be foolish. I think we should remain here on standby.
If this location were a camp to which we were stationed, then maybe you'd be making sense. Unfortunately, it is not, and it would be wise for us to act in the best interests of the Shinsengumi.
Do you dare oppose my opinion? An opinion, mind you, from the Shinsengumi's war counselor?
Cool it. Saito brings up a good point.
Kondo nodded deeply as he glanced at Saito.
We, the Shinsengumi, will officially look for the camp that military commissioner is constructing.
And with that, the Shinsengumi set off to find the soldiers of the Aizu domain. Night had fallen by the time we arrived at Kujo Beach. After leaving the Fushimi Magistrate's office, we made for the Aizu Manor. Upon arriving, we relayed our previous encounter and asked for new orders. The manor official we met with directed us to go to Kujo Beach, which we did. However...
What? The Shinsengumi is to join us? We've received no such order.
I apologize, but could you speak with the commander at the Nagakura seemed to tolerate no more of this.
What the hell? He was the one who told us to come here, goddammit! You want to fuck us over, fine, but you're gonna be disobeying a direct order from your superior, pal. You really want to do that?
But please, calm down. I don't know what you... The man flinched and shivered, then fell silent. Kondo did his best to assume a professional air, but there was no hiding his massive grin.
I would like to speak to your commanding officer. Do you think you might be able to take me to him?
At last, after a great deal of trouble, we were allowed to remain with the troops at Kujo Beach. The chief and the captains left the rest of us to speak with the Aizu commanders. They returned some time later, looking tired and drained. Inoue, who'd gone with them, also wore a bitter sort of half-smile.
Well, it would seem that the men stationed here are reserves, and not the main force of their army. Their main force has been committed to the defense of Hamaguri Gate.
They're treating the Shinsengumi like reserves?
Then why the hell did they send us a message acting like this was some sort of emergency? We can't predict what might happen. Battle may soon approach us. There is little to do but wait.
So all we can do is wait. There was a chance that the call could come at night, so the men stayed awake, ready to act.
Just let us know if you need to rest a bit, Chizuru. You're always welcome to sleep on my lap.
And there it is. Oh, no, I'm fine. Him. I shook my head at him. It wouldn't be fair for me to be the one to sleep. The men had to remain alert, anticipating that they could face death at any moment.